Sounds of the Southland for Sunday, August 16th, 2026. We are back with another edition of your weekly Georgia Tech Numbers and Words. My name is Akshay, and joining me from a extremely muggy, extremely humid, and
Oh God.
extremely hot Atlanta, Georgia is Mr. Jack Purdy. Jack, it's a two-man booth today. Another two-man booth after we did an entire episode on Game on Paper 2.0 last week, which listeners can check out in this same feed. How you feeling? There's like what, 4 weeks, 3 weeks until football season? I don't
I
know. Time
I
is fake.
I think we have I think in 2 Saturdays is the Ireland game.
Let's talk about volleyball. They start their season in just about 2 weeks as well.
Yep.
They'll start on August 28th versus the University of Northern Iowa, which is very curious. I don't really, it's been a long time since I played anyone named you and I. Um, it's been an interesting couple years for this program. I think we went to school and like the immediate aftermath of us coming out of school was this program was a powerhouse
Yep.
and was churning out international level talent, like Olympics level talent, like nobody's business, at
hmm
least for Brazil and Argentina. And now, like, as the conference has evolved and as Stanford, California, and SMU have been added to the mix, Cal's not that great, but Stanford and SMU are obviously, at least Stanford is a known quantity being very good, and SMU was a surprise, very good team last year. This team has sort of dropped off a little bit, at least has slid into that second tier of ACC schools, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it kind of came down to earth a little bit, but also the floor of the conference got better too. Like North Carolina was ranked last year, and those middle Bergman years, so to say, like any school from North Carolina, we were just running through. Like those were just 3-0 matches, 3-0 wins. Like wasn't a big deal. It was just until we got to Louisville, until we got to Pitt, until we got to some other big non-concept. That's where things really got hard, or the random Miami match, which we could never seem to get out of our own way of. Um, and so now that the conference got bigger, we added better teams. We've gotten close to beating Stanford. We haven't beaten them yet. Pitt, I mean, had the best player in the country, and just keeps reloading and keeps reloading. Louisville has kept reloading and everything, we had a end of a period of players after last season, and so we kind of had a natural reset year, so to say. They would call it retooling, which is I think is a fair expectation for how well they had been playing. But nonetheless, it was kind of the entire old guard that got us from 2019 to 2024 were all gone by last season, and so that kind of gave it a natural reset point. And we saw a team that wasn't at nowhere near as good as usual. Like the matches are still fun, still intense, and everything like that. But I mean, it was we knew not to expect an Elite Eight level team. Um, and they had some signs of glimmer. They had some good spots. They had some like, ooh, okay, you can tell they're really resetting here, kind of moments. Um, but I mean, as I was researching today, it's like okay, they've kind of there's a lot of graduates, a lot of people that were part of the starting lineup that are gone. Um, I think they're trying to do so. I think what happens when you have to reset it, you have to separate some wheat from chaff as well. And I think there's some element of that going on as well with who's no longer on this team that still had eligibility left, and who they brought in. So, um, yeah, overall, this will be interesting as we kind of figure out what we think about this team.
Absolutely. Just to walk through the 2025 season, they started out hot for an went faced Kansas at a neutral site and took a 3-1 loss, pulled it back at that same neutral site with a 3-2 win, a very close win over Bowling Green, in which I think in retrospect we should have seen a sort of a warning sign because then they dropped the next four games in a row and
Well,
honestly, the
you,
next
you
six
jumped
of
the
seven
you jumped the
as
gun here.
well.
We beat Purdue before we played Kansas. Uh, yeah, like we had a massive ranked win on the road in their building after getting through Wofford, Ole Miss, and Arkansas State. So like we were starting as like, oh, holy cow, this team might still be great. And then yeah, then the 4 game stretch happens. But we played Wisconsin in the middle of that too, which is that's not easy.
Right. And so you end that 4 game stretch with a thumping versus Miami in 3 sets. You go out and thump Florida State 3-0 to make up for that with Miami's travel partner, but then going away to SMU and away to Pittsburgh and losing 3-1 in both of those, and now you sort of are feeling like, okay, this is a different year. This is a different team.
Yeah.
The temperature is a little higher just based on where this team is at. And the tenor of the entire season really changes from there.
Yeah.
And I think by the time we get to the end of this slate, right after a home and home versus Clemson, right in November, they have their final five fixtures as hosting Louisville, hosting Notre Dame, at Stanford, hosting Pittsburgh, and then they head to the tournament. Um,
Yeah.
if
They
they would
only,
make it there.
yeah,
And I
they
think
did it.
that we were like, look, like they got to get one of two versus Stanford or Pittsburgh. They got neither.
They got one combined set.
Yeah. And I think that's when we thought, okay, like this is where the tournament streak ends. Like it's either gonna be like they're gonna really rest on that Purdue win, or it's gonna be really, really close. And it really seems like that one set versus Stanford may have may have
They,
taken it over the top, because they do make it to the tournament and then give UCLA a run for their money
yeah,
in a five setter to end the season. So again, different team. I think you set it up really well. It was a reset year, a retooling year. But I would say if you think 16 and 14 and dropping into that second layer of the ACC is a retooling year, I don't know what you want to call this much change in the roster in 2026.
it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it was surprising that we did get through into the tournament. I think we were one of the last at larges to make it in. Didn't have a number attached to our name. But we got to five sets against UCLA though. Like we kind of like I think they really almost made the most. They really got real damn close to getting through. We lost 15-10 in that final set, but I mean we were up 2-1 in that match going into the fourth set and just couldn't pull it off. So like they really had a shot to go play Kentucky, which is great. They finished 36th in Evolve, which is our favorite advanced stat for the volleyball. So not top 25. Notably, they fell out of the top 25. They had been in it basically every week. The ranking had been open for basically 5 years, and they just barely finished short of 100 straight consecutive rankings that they were in. So uh, that's kind of the biggest indictment is they got ranked kind of on a legacy reasons, and then they played their way out of it. Um, but yeah, we were losing a lot of people to graduation. We lose Liv Mogridge, who kind of didn't really play last year, and then her dad's still, of course, on the football staff. DeAndre Pierce from Texas had graduated after her grad year. Sophia Velez, who was our main libero, graduated. Anna Bozy, who had been playing backup middle blocker for a long time, graduated. And then a variety of different transfers. We lose Annika Groom, who she's at Clemson. She was hovering in the starting lineup at the beginning of the year and then kind of fell out. Sarah Toth went to Maryland. She was the backup setter. She was the two in the 6-2 rotation whenever Suarez came out. Mimi Mambu transferred, and she went to Purdue. So arguably an upward transfer for Mambu in terms of like competitive ability, in terms of like team and team likely to go deep in the tournament. So good for her. Nomi Despaigne went to Houston, which I call that lateral transfer, maybe below. I don't know. Ital Lapuyo graduated, and then Bianca Stojanovic went to Towson, but she didn't even play last year, so can't really comment much on there. So with that, you lose a starting middle blocker, your starting libero, a backup middle blocker, a occasionally starting outside hitter who made spot appearances, your primary backup setter, your who we thought was going to be our main outside hitter for a while, and then Mambu had some fantastic moments, and then also some moments where it's just like, all right, you can tell you're a freshman, and it was rough to see at points. Nomi Despaigne, same idea. Lapoyo filled in. She was part of the 6-2 rotation on the right side, and then Stojanovic, we don't know. So, I mean, you had a lot of varying roles that were taken out, but no one was like a primary player, though, I'd say, when it came down to the end of the year, which I think helps in terms of like knowing like, hey, if you have people that you can make upgrades on, these are the people you probably could have upgraded to, and knowing that I mean, Michelle is always traveling. She's always going and trying to find folks. And looking at this list of folks that we got here, It's again very international. It's very diverse. We got some Georgians in here from both Georgias this year, actually, which is really cool. So it feels once I saw this list of people, I'm like, okay, this feels like a Michelle recruiting class in a lot of ways. And now that she
Oh,
can use the transfer portal more effectively, I liked what I saw.
I mean, you have, like you said, both Georgias, Algeria, even as close as Union Grove High, the JUCOs, the Tennessee transfer, Michigan State transfer. Like, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
Well, someone that played last in Finland, but as either a pro or a semi-pro, but is from France. Like,
yeah,
you're talking about, again, another highly international recruiting class, but also key pieces that are from other power schools. I think we've seen this
yes,
pattern before. Where you say, okay, we're going to get a bunch of different pieces from internationals, but then you get some experience from and try to draft off of the scouting of other teams that maybe are a tier above you. So your Tennessees, your Michigan States,
hmm,
and just picking off the bottom. Maybe not the bottom of the roster, but maybe the lower to middle part of the roster, or who aren't getting playing time, and trying to add them to your soup. So,
right.
you want to go? Anyone stand out on these new additions for you?
Primarily it's Zoe Humphrey who's coming in. She's from Tennessee. She's a sophomore. We did this last year with Bianca Garibaldi. We got a player, a middle blocker from a very good team. In this case, Barry Garibaldi had come from Pittsburgh, and then Zoe Humphreys come from Tennessee. She was SEC All Freshman team last year at middle blocker. Like she racked up some really good numbers. Their middle blocking, they got plenty of middle blockers on their core right now. So, and I don't blame her if she can. If she's coming here, she's gonna play. That's the thing that Michelle said a lot of times. If you're coming into this team, for the most part, if you especially if you're a transfer, like there's a role for you waiting. So I expect we're going to see Zoe a lot. So that's a really big get. Knowing how good Garibaldi was last year in terms of just raw blocking, which was something that we had trouble with for a long time, was after Aaron Moss and Breland Morissette left. Like we just did not have a permanent solution. Liv Mogridge was really really good. Like I don't want to play down her ability. It sucks that she got injured. She just was hurt so much, but she was great when she was on the court. But Garibaldi was a godsend last year, like winning sets for us at the net versus needing to be a super efficient hitter. And she was, but that's good. But having Zoe is big. But at the same time, we get size with her, with Mia Hood, which is a huge deal. Mia Hood comes from Michigan State. She's a junior. She's 6'6". For those that watched matches last year, Atal Lapuyo was also 6'6", but she was playing more right side. This gives us a lot of size in the middle, and we have not had a 6'6" middle blocker, and I don't know, not since I've been paying attention, which is going to go a real long way in helping kind of shore up that line between Garibaldi, Humphrey, and her. She was not a regular starter for Michigan State last year. Mia Hood was. She appeared in 14 matches, but uh, I think a big thing we've noticed is just like we have a lot of skill. We know with Claudio Pinheiro and Michelle, like they can develop anybody that wants to put in the work, which has always been like Breland was one of those people like never would predict she was going to go pro, and now she's playing pro in Turkey. Uh, so seeing if when you mix in the growth, we hope we're going to see from our existing people with two really good important additions, knowing we have our wings kind of settled already. This is nice to see. Uh, so that's the things that I'm flagging right now.
To your point about Mia Hood, I think there's some she didn't play a ton, but when you're comparing consistency, even in those spot starts, consistency to what Georgia Tech had, she had like five attack errors period in her 14 matches,
That's good.
good
Yeah.
enough for 61st percentile in the nation. Again, obviously, that is not in full minutes. Whereas I believe I saw one of Georgia Tech's starting outside hitters from last year put together a 2%, like second percentile performance in attack errors. So,
Yeah.
like when you're up at the net, I mean, yes, some positional discipline there, or positional comparisons kind of apply. But when,
Yeah.
like, if Tech is able to clean those kinds of situations up, I think that will help immensely, especially bringing that size, like we said, like making sure that you really take advantage of those opportunities up front. I think
Right.
will be immense.
Yeah. Those are big, and she's mostly playing. She's gonna play just front row. Like there's no reason to put her in the back. And I mean, there are some little bit of on-off splits. Her on-off splits are technically positive. Like their Michigan State won 37, were 37 points better, so to say, or they won 37 more points than when she was on the court than when she was off. Which really just comes down to like a percentage point in terms of total volume because there's so many points out there in a volleyball match. So um, when she was playing, it wasn't like she was a obvious negative, which is good. Obviously, I mean, clearly Michelle and Claudio saw something in her, so this was worth bringing her in. So there is that. I'll be very curious how well this goes. I mean, I still remember a couple of years ago when we played Georgia in McCamish, and they had I forgot who the gal was who was about this tall, and we could not hit around her to save our
Uh,
lives, and they just ate our lunch in that 3-1 loss. Which was just and she was really good. Like that was not necessarily our fault, but it was just hard to get around that. And I think at least us as fans, having seen time and time again that it's been hard for us to get around tall folks, there's some inherent strategy and things like that that me and actually don't fully understand in terms of like balancing the rotations right, trying to match make against who's going to be at the front of the net, who's not going to be at the front of the net, and just how you get the ball around. Like that stuff that's beyond our expertise. But as we've said before, you can't teach size, and
can't teach
once
tall.
yeah, and once you get someone that intimidating at net, like that does a lot of work, and so hopefully between just this growth here is big. Uh, this is not the only place we've grown though, which is also nice to see. For a team that's used to like a 4'11" libero, we got another middle blocker from Georgia and Riley Bethea, who went to Union Grove. She's at 6'2" middle blocker. Um, I mean, I'll note, Mimi left. Who else left? Who was the gal that went to Miami? Uh, that was middle blocker. I'm forgetting her name. But was local as well. Like it's not often our local talent stays or is staying on it or is like playing valuable minutes, but a 6'2" middle blocker from the local area is still pretty good when there's a lot of volleyball talent around in Riley. So that's good. We got a JUCO transfer in Mana Kaneko. She's Japanese. She's a junior class for libero. So that's a spot where I'm kind of like, what are we gonna do here? Because Velez is gone, so that's a real position we have to solve this year, and we've got multiple options there between Mana, uh, and then we've also who else is there? Victoria Belfort is another freshman that we got who could play. So it's probably going to be Mata Kaneko just purely because of experience. Sofia Vela is also JUCO transfer, came in as a junior, was our starting libero, was great. So this is a pattern that I know that this team has seen and it's worked for them too. Wasn't a who was the gal before Velas who also was
Paolo
yeah
Pimentel,
Pimentel was
also
also
JUCO.
yeah. So I don't know I don't know if we're moneyballing this or what, but they're finding talent at that position specifically in the junior ranks and bringing them in later in their careers. So, which is big.
It's
Like,
interesting.
I mean,
It
I
is
bet
interesting.
that partly makes some sense. Like, you have to have them be solid, and we are a very defensive heavy team. And I don't think they're willing to risk having a possibly a hole in your defense at your defensive specialist position, so to say. And you're like, well, if you can get someone who's already done most of the work already and train someone behind them, that's great. We just been doing the picking them up from JUCO so far without actually keeping anybody. Like Zoe Winford was a libero for us, and she's not on the team anymore when she was behind Sofia Velez. So that's just how it's worked. It's fine. But we'll probably see Matakaneko out there a decent amount. Simone Hurd's an outside hitter from Plano, Texas that we got, freshman. The Algerian we mentioned was Alida Benor. She's a right side, so that's Larissa Mendez's position where she'll be very much still starting there. Like we got a really solid spot there. So I don't know how much of her we're going to see. Magda Kobaidze is from Georgia. She's an outside hitter who's 6'1", and then Willow Winiger from Kansas is a 6'2" right side. So all these people have size that at least are going to play in the wings, which is very nice to have. Uh, Good to have the depth. We've always got the depth, but for the most part, I'm looking at this mostly as a like much closer to a retooling than a rebuilding was last year, purely because we keep a lot of offensive talent that was showing some real promise by the end of last year and probably helped our performance look as good as it did to get us into the NCAA tournament too. So,
And I mean, that's the goal again this year, right? Like to
yep,
continue this tournament streak and
yep,
I mean, ensure that you have a solid floor to build off. And I think looking down the schedule, those first couple of games really established that floor. And then some of those fixtures later on say, okay, like if we can get results that's where the ceiling is, and that's how far they can go.
Yep.
Can they make the tournament as the expectation? But obviously, hey, your icing on the cake is advancing out of the first round again.
Yep. Yep. And we've got our ACC schedule against this is a little, technically, probably a tad bit easier than it was last year. Um, it's still challenging. It's not going to be to a significant degree easier. So we're still going to have to play better than we did last year just to get out of the hole we had. I mean, we had a losing record in conference play last year. We were, or no, sorry, we had a winning record. We were 11-9 in conference play. So very much worse than
But it
we
was
usually have done.
close.
Yeah.
It was
Uh,
close.
yeah, we've gone within the last few years we were 13, 14 wins in conference play. So that definitely was close. It was close. I mean, it could have been worse. So if we basically just beat the teams we had to beat and then didn't beat anybody that was ranked in the conference. That's what happened. And so an early growth point, I think that's will be pretty obvious is okay, beat someone who's ranked, beat SMU one time. If you can get over Stanford, God bless you. Uh, if NC State's up there, if North Carolina, I mean, we get North Carolina on the road, so we'll see how that plays out. We lost to Boston College last year, fall teams on the road, but we usually beat them pretty soundly in our own building. We have them here this year, so. But then we have Pitt in McCamish, and that's a toughie.
I mean, that's Pitt and SMU both in McCamish in the
Yep.
same weekend around homecoming. So that's
Yep.
the 23rd and the 25th of October. I mean, let's just go down this list and read this real quick, shall we? Our
Yep. Yep.
annual schedule game.
Woohoo.
Friday, August 28th. So they start Friday, August 28th. Like I said, they'll play Northern Iowa, Iowa State, and Loyola Chicago, all in Ames. And then they'll host Southern Indiana. They'll host Campbell, Xavier. I think all of that.
That's a
And
single
then I
weekend
think
too.
all of those three are the same weekend. And
Yep.
that's it's not marked as the usual like, Georgia Tech Classic, but could be that.
Yeah, basically is.
The ACC SEC Challenge game is September 8th. That's on a Tuesday. That's a 9 p.m. tip versus Oklahoma. For some reason, they've decided to play Nebraska at Nebraska on September 11th. So we salute you, but that'll be a part of a tournament with, or like one of those in
Round robin.
seasoners
Yeah.
with Nebraska, Baylor, and again Loyola Chicago, which is interesting.
Yeah.
They'll go up to Athens for clean old fashioned hate. Then they have VT and UVA at home, Duke and North Carolina away, Florida State and Miami away, Cuse and Boston College at home, Pittsburgh and SMU at home, Notre Dame Louisville away, NC State and Wake Forest at home, Cal and Stanford away, the home and home versus Clemson, and then they
Yeah.
finish. And this is absurd to have in the same week at SMU and then at home versus Stanford.
Yeah.
So, oh boy,
Yeah.
I think the softest part of this schedule, other than the start, is I mean, a 3 game stretch versus VT, UVA, and Duke, and then
I mean,
equivalently a Cuse Boston, a Cuse Boston College, like in there. I don't know.
it's kind of that front stretch. It's the first 8 games before Pitt. It is those are all in theory in a winnable situation. Miami we'll see. North Carolina we'll see. Those are both on the road.
Hold
But
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. But wait, did you say before Pitt?
before Pitt at October, so we've got Boston College, Cuse, Miami, FSU, North Carolina, Duke, and the Virginia schools all ahead of playing
Okay,
any
you're just talking
national.
about ACC schedule, I
Yes, yeah,
assume.
yeah.
Okay,
Just
because I
ACC.
was
Like
like, I see Nebraska on the schedule,
no, no,
buddy. I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
going to put them in that bracket.
Yeah, on the conference side of things, yeah, like this is nicely we don't have to deal with the national powerhouses immediately, but it is very backloaded when it comes to that because he played Pitt, SMU, and Louisville 3 out of 4, and that's no fun. And Louisville is at the LNN House of Pain, which we never win, and the matches are never close, uh, which sucks. And then you're in California 2 weeks later, and then you've got hopefully a breather with Clemson. And then you got SMU and Stanford again. So this is like this middle section. We're gonna have to stack a lot of wins. We're going to beat Georgia for once. Like we can only beat them on the road. We cannot beat them here, which is
I
so
mean, and you're
annoying.
going to have to get one of these away, right? Like
Yeah,
you have to get one of the like I mean,
I think, yeah, in theory, I mean, now Iowa's a good volleyball state as well, so I'm not guaranteeing the UNI game, but like Loyola got to win that. Clean up the we'll be fine for Georgia Tech Classic. Those
where was
matches.
Baylor?
Baylor's
That's
been historically pretty darn good as well, so that's I mean the Nebraska, the Oklahoma Nebraska Baylor stretch is rough, and having only one of those games at home and at a very, very weird time that is just not accommodating to a good fan environment either. Like, I hope Midtown folks can just make it over for that game where the students are like, yep, we're just going to do this because we're going to need it. I have never seen us start any later than 7:30 in O'Keefe, and we're starting that one at 9. For
that's
now.
eight. Look, that's ACC basketball time. Those are ACC basketball tip-offs.
And they're bad ideas. So, that's at least for me. So that I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You don't want SEC fans to turn into the ACC network. That's TV money right there, Jack.
That's yeah. I don't care. And then Nebraska and Baylor. That's whoo, oh baby. What was Baylor's ranking?
20th in Evolve
Okay, so yeah,
last year.
that's a
So
legit ranked
good.
team. Yeah, so like that's a team that we
I
would have
also
struggled
want to
with
double
last year.
check Loyola before we start doing some doing some posting that we might
One
regret.
154th last year.
Okay, thankfully.
Yeah, so that's not going to be our biggest battle. It is funny how we played them twice, and I'm still mad at them for the Cameron Krutwig game. Uh, so
That's been 5 years, and I'm right there with you.
yep, yep. So overall, this team was 2 games over 500 last year. Barely. I mean, really barely. There's some five setters that can go either way. This feels a lot. How this all goes feels a lot with how will these transfers land, because these middle blockers have to land well, and our outside hitters have to have progressed a decent amount. We've seen this before though, multiple times. Like Bertolino always got better. Bergman was, I mean, she's literally an Olympic gold medalist now and one of the most important players on Brazil's national team at this point. So like we have seen development happen when it needs to happen. So I'm not doubting that's going to happen, which has me more hopeful in terms of say raw potential standpoint for this team compared to last year. I think that's a fair place to be in terms of like where this team can go. Now, I say that everyone else is getting better too. Like that, like teams are going to have their own growth and strengths and whatnot, and we still have to play the ACC, which makes things really freaking hard. And then we're just like, oh yeah, let's just throw Nebraska in there. That'll be fun. Uh, we
I
did
mean,
like
I
with
think like
we
the
did
scheduling
Wisconsin
strategy.
last year. We do this all the time
Yeah,
though. Like this is normal.
I
It's
mean, and
just
they did Purdue last year too,
did
right?
Purdue and Kansas was ranked as well. So like this is normal. Like we go to Ohio State twice a couple of years ago. We've had Wisconsin showed up
The
last
home
year.
and home thing with or like the double home, I guess, at Ohio State was
That was
super weird.
that was interesting. But so this is normal. It's just if you're going to Nebraska is still just like you still see it. That still is a big deal. I mean that is you're going to the number one location for volleyball in college athletics by going there. So it's
Sidebar, like that team, that Nebraska team is playing at Wrigley Field. Like they
yeah
are a draw anywhere.
yeah
Like
they're yeah
they are very, very good. I I guess like to sort of tie a couple of different strands together, the scheduling strategy here reminds me, well, I mean, there's like two pieces here. Number one, you're recreating your like tier one ACC schedule in the aggregate, right? By adding
mm-hmm.
your Nebraskas last year, you added your Wisconsins. I mean, they still had a tier one schedule last year, but still like that sort of style of scheduling.
Yep.
And two, it reminds me of softball scheduling in that look, you go 500 or better. I mean, I wouldn't say they go 500 or better with this schedule and they make the tournament, but that's like
It's the
kind of the
idea.
thinking, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, you win the games that you're expected to, and you look reasonably good in the games that you were expected to lose,
It
and you will
helps.
probably make the tournament like
Yep.
at a walk,
Yep.
right?
Yep. No, I agree.
Um, and I
Uh,
think it's a good calculus because the barometer of a growing like a growing team and a consistent team is making the tournament. Like we're still at that stage of consistently make the tournament, and the growth pattern and the growth goal is flip to the next round, right?
yep. Yep.
Obviously, the peak of that was making it to the Sweet 16 on the doorstep of the Elite Eight. Just obviously fell to a Louisville team that was basically playing a home game,
Yep.
but I mean, literally playing a home game, and
Yeah, it was their
if you
building.
think
Yep.
about it, but like now we're just 2 steps back from there, and how do we build back up to that point, and I think you have it written in here. It's like this is not a peak year. This is the like thinking about it. Like maybe this is a bit too far, but it's like the team before the team before the team, or
I
at
think
least
that's
like
yeah,
two X, right? It's
yeah,
like two teams before the team. It's
yeah,
like you want a year for some of this stuff to bed in, a year for some of these freshmen to understand what the ACC pace of play is like,
yeah,
and then maybe you say, okay, next year is the team that we look at, or the year after is the team that we look at. And obviously, the transfer portal makes all this weird now, but I mean, you have an SEC all freshman on this team
yeah.
that got, I can only assume got squeezed out of Tennessee because of the SEC churning, like
I
just
yeah,
raking in talent.
yeah,
Like
I checked their roster and they got other middle blockers there too. I mean, right now there's one senior on the roster, and that's Eloise Suarez. That's center. And so
for Georgia Tech.
yeah, for Tech, that is the only senior on this
Yeah.
squad right now. So that's also a big determining factor of like why I'm saying that. It's just like, oh, Larissa Menja is also a senior. But they backfilled there. We got another setter in Sasha Gody, and then we got, as I mentioned, we got like two or three different right sides there. So uh, there's reinforcements at the ready. I'm looking at Nebraska's schedule to close the loop here. Just note where they're playing. This is just awesome that this is happening for the sport and that there's a team that's willing to do this. They start the year against Florida in Jerry World. They have a one-off against the Florida Gators in Jerry World, and then they go to T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas to play UNLV in Texas. In the Aces, where the Golden Knights and the Aces play, and then they go to South Dakota State. They're going to play at South Dakota State, which is crazy. Play at DePaul in Chicago, and then they have the Wrigley Field game against Missouri. I am noticing their schedule has different dates for our games compared to what our schedule says for our games when we're in Nebraska. So, and also it lists a game against New Mexico that we don't have on our schedule right now. So, who knows who we
Time
actually
moves
play that
differently
week?
in Nebraska.
Who knows who we actually play out there? But at the moment, it says Baylor, Loyola, and Nebraska, and Nebraska's website doesn't even show Loyola anywhere. It shows New Mexico. So maybe we're playing New Mexico. I don't know.
Who knows? Jack, so, just for listeners to know, Nebraska was undefeated the entirety of last season until they lost in a five-setter in the national championship game to Texas A&M. Jack, before the
Uh,
national championship game,
no, they
how
did
many
not.
sets the
They did.
entire season did Nebraska lose?
They lost to A&M in the Elite Eight.
Oh, it
So
was the Elite Eight.
yes. A&M beat
Okay,
Pittsburgh in the finals and then beat Kentucky in the whole thing. But they were a number they were the number one seed in the country though. So
okay.
uh
My joke still stands. Then,
yes,
how many sets did they lose the entire season before they lost in the Elite Eight to
I
Texas A&M in a five-set loss?
I want to say it was like maybe like four or five.
Close. It was seven.
Okay, yeah, and it was
Seven the entire
ridiculous.
season. They
They had
dropped a set to Pittsburgh. They dropped two to Kentucky. They dropped one to Utah, two to Creighton, which is crazy.
like
One to UCLA, and then obviously their final
yeah,
outing, they dropped two to Texas A&M or three to
yeah,
Texas A&M.
yeah. They were crazy. They were
They
they were obscene.
from the middle of September, so September 24th to November 8th or November 14th, they did not drop a set.
Yeah, and yeah, they lost one game. That was the only game they lost.
They
And it was
lost one game.
yes, and it was at home. Like they were perfect on the road, and they lost at home to A&M. Like that was one of the most ballsiest volleyball matches I've seen a team performance. A&M was unbeatable that day for good reason, but it's yeah that it takes you have to have a special day to get through Nebraska, and that's definitely what it enabled them to just steam through Pittsburgh and Kentucky 3-0 3-0. So
A&M had to throw the first two punches. If you look at the set scores, because it's 25-22, 25-22, Texas A&M in the first two sets. And then Nebraska decides to go supernova 25-20, and then 37 to 35
yeah,
in set four through the tiebreaker to force
hmm
set five, which Texas A&M wins 15 to 13.
yeah,
50-50 match. Really could have gone either way, but
yeah.
you got to throw some haymakers to beat Nebraska, and you better make sure they're dead.
Sure, seriously. Will
Yeah.
we do if we get a set on them? I'll be so happy.
I mean, we played them at what, 2021 tournament? We went to the Sweet 16 and played Nebraska.
Even more recent, we played Nebraska, I think two seasons ago, out there,
Yes,
and we got stomped by them, uh, but still got there.
got there. Also, Nebraska, also very much so famous for our old favorite volleyball analytics site, Husker Geek, which
Yeah,
no longer exists, sadly.
rip in
So,
peace.
pour one out. Jack, that's about all I got on the volleyball schedule and the volleyball team this year. I think we've previewed everything. I can't think of we've done analytics, we've done the schedule game, we've done the outlook. I,
I
let
if I
me
had
let me put you down here. Let me
Okay,
get you in pen because I
okay,
think that's what you're about to say too. Let me get your season prediction. What will I'm not going to hold you to a record,
okay.
but do they make the tournament? How many rounds in the tournament, and give me and how many of the top tier teams in the ACC do they beat?
Do they beat? I think we do. I think we get to round back to round two. I think that's a fair
Okay, round
place.
of 32.
I think that's a fair. That's a fair spot doing where we're at now. Um, of these teams that now there's some that may or may not be ranked that we just don't know about. Like who knows if if Florida State finds their way back up? Who knows if Duke gets ranked for once? Who the hell knows? Uh,
The usuals. The
yeah. Of the
usuals.
so let's put in the SMU, Louisville, Pitt, Stanford group. We'll put it that way.
Yep.
Um, I I I would not be surprised if we could get through SMU.
Okay.
I think that one's doable. Um, that keep in mind that Pitt game at McCamish starts right after Mini 500, like right after. So
It's a tight turn.
it really is. And so that'll be an interesting and like Buzz Bash happens on campus at the same time. There's a lot of stuff going on, so that'll be an interesting. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it during homecoming weekend. They need that'll be a big boost, and hopefully we get a whole lot more people there than we usually. I mean, we get record crowds there every time, but I hope we get even closer to filling out the lower bowl. What was the other? Was that it?
Um, oh man, I forgot the middle thing. So we'll leave it at that. This
I
is
will.
great
Yeah,
audio. I'm
I was
very good
planning
at
on.
this.
They had a scrimmage last night. I was really planning on going, but there was a wedding I couldn't miss, so I did not get to actually lay eyes on this team yet, and I will not lay eyes on this team until they play their first match here. Oh no, actually, I'm going to be gone the weekend of the Georgia Tech Classic, so I will not lay eyes on them until their match against Oklahoma on that Tuesday at 9 o'clock in person at least. So I'll have to be some TV watching for these other matches.
Womp womp. But they play Auburn in an exhibition on the 22nd. Could happen. Could make it work.
Hey, if you want to make the drive down next week to Auburn, we could go to Auburn. So
Oh wait, is it at Auburn?
it's at Auburn, yeah,
Okay, well,
and
reading my reading comprehension has never been my strong suit.
it's a Saturday night at Auburn. So yeah, I don't know.
That's a tough one. That is a
Yeah.
tough sell, especially for an exhibition. However, they should play Auburn regular season. I would much rather have Auburn
Oh
than
yeah.
OU. Are you kidding
Oh
me?
yeah. That's not even the SEC.
Big 12. Rip Big 12. Anything else? Anything else
I think we.
for Georgia Tech
I think.
volleyball?
I think we did it. We'll get Shake's opinion next week as well, just to make sure to fully close the loop there, because I know he'll have some alternative thoughts and things like that, which is what he's good for. So, otherwise,
Football preview next week.
we got football next week. That's yes, but that's this week's research is making sure we remember that we have a lot of good defensive transfers that came in and recruited well, and that the new quarterback people like him.
Uh, One of the ways that you could celebrate Georgia Tech and your Georgia Tech fandom heading into football season and heading into volleyball season is with our partners, Section 103 at section103.com. Their newest offering, a bunch of new Power Team merch, and along with the new gold tee and new gold font. Well, wow, I was going to say new gold font. I mean the new shade of gold. You can get your vintage Power Tee in a striped performance polo, a one of those performance polos with all of the Georgia icons on them, and then your contrast collar performance polo. If you don't like the Power Tee, you can even get them with a golf and buzz Golf and Buzz in all of those different facets. You can find them at section103.com, section103 on Instagram, Twitter, and basically anywhere on the internet. Use code FTRS for 10% off. And as always, you get free shipping on any order over $100. That is section103.com. Mr. Purdy, any other news and notes from around the flats?
So many things. Let's start with the sports stuff before I get into the non-sports stuff. We do have a cross-country schedule, if we so choose to talk about that.
All
Uh,
right, it's time to do the schedule read game. Let's see if I can pull it up very quickly.
I got it here. They got four meets that that they've got listed. I always find it hilarious that they have a Georgia Tech Invitational, even though it is like not in Atlanta at all.
Also, do
Uh,
you see that the two golds don't match? That they're two different logos for Georgia
yeah.
Tech in that one.
Well, uh, that is the struggle bus that comes with being on the least funded team, I think, at Tech right now. So that's unfortunate. But they go to the Stan Sims opener Labor Day weekend, and they get the Southern Showcase September 18th. The Tech Invitational is October 2nd, which is an off week for football, so they don't have to worry about that. And then the Crimson Classic is October 16th, and then they got ACC starting in late October, so that'll carry them through the season. The Tech Invitational is at Foxhall Sporting Club in Douglasville, Georgia. So that's actually not terribly far away. I've been to Foxhall for a music festival things, so that's not too far. And the Stan Simpson is at Altoona and Ackworth, so they run pretty proximate. That's a nice part about cross country is he only got so many meets. It's mostly for some of them. It's a warm up for track and field season, and everything's close by. Uh,
Well, you say that, and then you look at ACCs in Blacksburg,
that's not
NCAA
close by.
South at Tallahassee,
That's
and then
close-ish
the
by.
NCAA national championships are in Terre Haute, Indiana.
I really hope we get someone there, but we usually don't.
We'll try our best. That was the men's schedule. I didn't check if the women's schedule was different. I usually they're synced up.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
same. Yeah, they'll both be there.
okay,
Keeps things
cool.
easy. The women's
Yeah.
basketball team's got their non-conference schedule out. Their full conference schedule has not come out. Basketball schedules are notoriously late, relative to when the games actually are happening. But there's some fun ones here. That I liked. They're doing the Education Day game to start the year again, so that's a Monday 10:30 start on November 2nd against Hofstra. So if you are okay with hearing the sounds of about 8,000 elementary school kids screaming their mouths off and torturing your eardrums, or if you like it, not torturing your eardrums, that's what happens in that game. But it usually is a nice little warm up act for the team. But the notable things, we go to West Virginia comes here. They kind of clocked us last year at the start of the home and home we did last year when we went out to Morgantown. We go to Georgia. Georgia comes here. Georgia State comes here. Maryland Eastern Shore comes here, and then we go to Princeton. They came here last year. They beat us just barely, but we go up there. They've been a tournament team pretty regularly out of the Ivy League, so that I like playing them. That's a fun little thing. And Jadwin Gymnasium out in Princeton's a really cool building as well. This Fort Myers thing, this little stretch here of Princeton, TCU, Indiana, Alabama is a fun little stretch, though, I'd say.
Yeah, TCU, Indiana, both in Fort Myers. I think that's a tournament situation, right? Like
That is,
you
yeah.
you beat it's like a round robin and then you play a semifinal and a final.
Yeah, it's a tip off kind of, yeah, one of those tip off event kind of things. We are in what's called the Shell Division. We play just TCU in Indiana, and then
Sure.
Mississippi State is also in our division. I guess we just don't play them. On the flip side is LSU, NC State, Kansas State, and Villanova. So I guess mathematically there is a chance we get a additional North Carolina State game this year. We will already play them in conference play.
A
We all,
non-con North Carolina State game.
uh,
It's just like football.
it's perfect. We also Kansas State would be notable as well because we played them last year in the WBIT at the end of the year,
Mhm.
so that would be an interesting repeat kind of thing there. So it's cool that we're getting involved in like that. We're in this kind of caliber. I think Karen Blair has done such a really good job in very quickly reestablishing the prestige of the team, even though the results are like kind of they got better last year for sure. But keeping us relevant, I think Karen's really pushing the charge for this team. So this is even though it's like yeah, it's just a Thanksgiving tournament kind of thing. That if you have time to watch, good on you. It's actually going to be on Ion, so it's actually going to be like kind of watchable. which is really cool to see.
And take a look at those dates, by the way. That's a back to back. That's
Yes, that's
you do not see those super often in college basketball either.
not normally for these kind of things. It can happen,
Hmm.
but hey, it's close by. They'll be all right. So that's cool to have. And then yeah, Alabama. We have to go to Tuscaloosa for the SEC ACC challenge there. So
Womp womp.
we'll see how that
Uh,
goes. And
Wrapping up
then
the schedule with Lipscomb on the 6th of December, and then the pre-Christmas clash with West Georgia. Both of
yes,
those are at home. There are no times and networks on any of these other than that Fort Myers tip-off. And like you said, the Education Day. Both Fort Myers games are at 1:30
yep,
on ION.
yep. So that'll be a while from now. And then all right. Do you want to do football or buildings?
Let's do football very quickly. DeAndre Hopkins, who you may know from his time with the Texans, or at least that's what I remember him
Yeah,
from,
Ravens.
has not retired, but is a wide receivers coach for Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on here.
So I
Apparently, George Godsey had just invited him to come coach, and he's doing it.
there's some element that I did pick up on that he talked about somewhere. But yes, he did have a relationship with Godsey from his time with the Ravens. But did specifically mention that he had wanted to start coaching while he still was active is kind of a loose term, but while he still had his speed, basically, he didn't want to lose his understanding of the speed of the game that he physically could practice himself while being able to coach kids at the same time. So he kind of wanted to be able to be. There's a particular time in life where you can be in both spaces as a wide receiver in terms of maintaining your speed and all that kind of stuff. Still being NFL ready, but being able to pass that along and demonstrate it properly to them. So, I mean, it's kind of it's a smart move. He's getting in a way a football internship while still keeping his foot in the door to come back to the NFL. And like usually guys like him find a team late in the year that just need a warm body to or something like that. So um, it's cool that we get him now before anyone in the NFL needs him. No one needs him at training camp. People know what he's made of and things like that. So we keep him for as long as we can, and hopefully for DeAndre at least he gets to find another team at some point that needs another wide receiver, and he keeps playing a little bit longer. But I mean, he gets to have a foot in the door here, and that's a recruiting chip too. Like, hey, that's we're not really actively recruiting at the moment because it's about to be the season start and whatnot. But still, uh, that's a good guy to have in the building. That's real experience. That's real talent. That dude was one of the best wide receivers in football for a long time.
He
Um,
was a standout at Clemson too. I
yeah,
mean, 15 years ago, but still.
yeah. Like that's not a no. I mean, yes, it's a flashy name, but it still is not a nobody. Like he knows all of his stuff and can still do it right now. So that's a cool little mix to have for this little moment here on campus.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for him. Also, Jack, you're outing yourself as a LinkedIn reader because I too saw that
Oh, is
post
that where that
of
was? I thought
DeAndre
that
Hopkins LinkedIn.
I legitimately do not remember where I read that, but okay, cool.
I saw it on LinkedIn and I was like, I did not know that DeAndre Hopkins one had a LinkedIn profile and two was posting on LinkedIn. But here we are. I guess it's a tough job market for everyone.
Good on
You
him.
want to talk about buildings, por favor?
Well, there's still Haynes King to worry about here. We can't leave him be. The Hall of Fame game was last week. It was Haynes King's debut for the Carolina Panthers, and he beat the crap out of Carson Beck. Not maybe not the crap out of Carson Beck, but the Panthers did beat the Cardinals with a last second touchdown by Haynes King, kind of doing his best Aaron Philo impersonation of getting a scramble touchdown near the end of the game to win it for Carolina. He looked great though. Like I know it's backups. I mean, no one starters are playing in the Hall of Fame game of all games. Bryce Young wasn't even wearing pads for the Panthers, but that was still he still did some. He slung it like he had some good passes. He did some normal Haynes King stuff. Had all the intensity and everything. And hey, beating Carson Beck is always a good thing. So that was just a fun little moment. Who the hell knows if hopefully I mean, he probably should make the roster. I mean, people know he's the kind of guy he is that if you were a Tech fan, so if he's not on someone's locker room, they're missing out. So that was good to see him kind of prove it immediately and do really well given the opportunity.
You know what's crazy? I can't go click through the Panthers website to find a box score for some of their games. Like I'm looking for. I wanted to see if he was available for this game versus the Bills yesterday, and I
Oh, I
can't click. Like there's no box score link. insane.
Well, they lost. ESPN
They got
says.
worked.
ESPN says that he did not play. So,
I think he injured his hamstring in that
oh,
Hall of Fame game. Is what my understanding is,
ah,
or that's what I saw online, which is like weirdly on brand for Haynes King to be.
that's a
But like the NFL is the one place where you cannot get away with
no.
carrying like any sort of injury.
Yeah,
You
that's
will
the kind
end
of
up on
stuff
an
he
injury
was.
report.
Yeah, he was just playing through that for us last year. No, Carolina
Yeah, he was
through.
playing through a torn. What was it? A torn labrum in his shoulder
Shit, that was
in
2 years ago.
24.
Yeah, yeah, no, he was doing all sorts of stuff. Carolina through
Crazy.
Kenny Pickett and Kyle Trask mostly against Buffalo in the.
Kyle Trask. Oh
Yeah,
man.
I know,
Now there's a
I
guy.
know. That's
Oh,
that
that's
that's that
so
that
gross.
that's a talk about some guy right there.
That's a
Uh,
third round pick after
it
a weird career at Florida right there.
really
Ugh.
is. So, anyways,
Oh man.
good for him. It seems like he's starting up that career good. I mean, probably the most. I mean, definitely is gonna. If anyone's gonna have NFL success as a quarterback coming out of Georgia Tech, it's Haynes King. So, uh, hopefully this works out. We'll see how the season goes. Carolina is in the NFC South, so literally anything is possible for any of these teams. Knowing our division,
Crabs in a bucket.
who the hell knows? Anyways,
Crabs in a
construction's
bucket.
building stuff. There was a lot of news this week. For
Hmm.
one, Britain Dining Hall is back. They have reopened it. Freshmen will be able to go in. I got to go in this past week, thankfully through some work stuff, and the food was great. The actual like building, like the interior, it's all this like they didn't do any like major renovations or anything like that. There's just a lot of gut stuff that needed to get redone with like plumbing and the kitchen machinery and everything like that. So that's all upgraded. Um, and then they reupholstered like the furniture and everything like that. So all the chairs are the same, just the cushions are different. But otherwise, it's back. So for a moment where Georgia Tech is growing a lot, they really need multiple dining halls on that side of campus, and so that's a big deal to get that thing back. Visually, they got rid of. I don't know if you saw this, Akshay. They got rid of the glass doors on the outside. Um, yeah,
No.
yeah. So you
They didn't get rid of the stained glass though, right?
no no
The
no no
stained
no
glass is
no
all there.
no the stained glass all there, but like like at the in the breezeway right before the wooden doors that you go in, the ones that
Yeah.
were outside that they got rid of those. So now it's completely open air until you get to the wooden doors
Well, that
going
makes
in.
sense because
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense because that was always just like you'd leave the door open and then in like the middle of the winter it'd be cold and you're
yeah,
letting all this cold air
yeah. So
into the building.
they got rid. So unnecessary doors are gone, which is great. Uh, but
I
the
got
food's.
it would be weird for me to show up again as an old man to
I
that
mean,
dining hall, especially right now considering that it's moving. But
I mean, technically anyone can. They got a credit card reader. You can just
I
get
gotta find
food.
I gotta find an official reason to have a meeting at Britton Dining Hall.
Should be easy
I'm
enough.
sure I can make that happen.
I think that's doable. And then also this past week was the opening of the Val and Bud Peterson Residence Hall. That is notable because I mean, any new residence hall that's pretty big on campus, but this is the first freshman dorm in over 60 years that was built on campus. Um, all those Olympic era ones, those are upperclassmen or sophomore starting things. North Ave mostly starts with sophomores nowadays. But like everything like that Z bar, that's Malding, all those kind of Center Street, all those are for sophomores and above. So like your Hefners, your Folks, your Armstrongs, those were all 60s era freshman dorms. They got added when we made a big expansion to the west part of campus. But since then, nothing has been built specifically for freshmen, and this adds about 800 beds. We won't net 800 beds because if you've been on campus lately, you'll notice that Smith and Howell are getting renovated as well. So the net is a few hundred beds, so to say. I don't know how many beds are in Smith and Howell, but at least seeing what's going on campus, we've got more beds, which is nice. The building is obviously very nice considering it was built this year and not anywhere between 1915 and 1969, basically. So that's a nice upgrade. So, but also it gives us it's in the parking lot next to Woody's and 8th Street apartments. So and also the walkways just go straight to North Side Drive. Like you can just walk down this to the sidewalk and get to that the quick trip that's back there as well. So that gives it a
It's
little bit
just
more access.
connectivity, right?
Yep.
Connectivity to that part of campus
Yeah.
or that part of town. Um, my only complaint is that they don't look like the rest of the dorms on campus because they're clad
No.
in like some.
It's
gray
it's
metal,
yeah,
like
it's
Culk kind of situation.
yeah, it fits. It's much. I got this. I've seen the inside, and it looks much closer to how all the latest buildings have been built on campus. Like there is a definite like architectural style that's taken over. That's much more open, much more glassy. Like the windows in the the dorm windows are like bigger than they are in other dorms as well. So much more about natural light and things like that. So uh, that
No,
part's
they don't need
nice.
to see. They should study in the dark. Back
What
in
is
my day,
one cool thing is it is two different towers. They're connected. They're not isolated. They do connect in the middle. But one building is called the Val and one building is called the Bud. If you're a freshman there, you're either in Val floor one, Val floor two, Val floor Bud floor one, but Bud floor two, stuff like that. So they did in fact differentiate that, which is cool.
yeah. I mean, that's I guess to fill in the blanks for people that don't know. Bud Peterson, 2 presidents ago
Two
now, I
pres
guess technically, dependent
still the previous one. Angel's still here.
until yeah,
Yep.
until Cabrera gets replaced, but and then Val Peterson, his wife.
Yep.
So it's a nice way to honor them. I
Yeah.
mean, like Clough has Culk, his name all over that building. Every single president, I think, has at least one building named after
Let me
them.
think here. Let's see. I know
Harrison,
Harrison's got one. Creesine's got one. Lyman Hall is literally the Lyman Hall building. I'm looking at. Let's see here. Matheson's got a dorm. Britain's got the dining hall. Van Leer's got the electrical engineering building. Harrison's a dorm. Hanson, I think
Hanson's got a
has
dorm.
Hanson's got a dorm. Pettit's got a science building, and then
Hmm.
yeah, Creesine, Clough, and Peterson, and then we'll see what happens with Cabrera.
What's your bet? What building did I give him?
Ooh, something in creative quarter. Yeah.
They could just name it the Cabrera Creative Quarter.
We've already changed the name twice, so no.
Wasn't it supposed to be Art
It was
Square
Art Square, and then
first?
it was Art Square, and then it turned into Creative Quarter. And so yeah, if anything, maybe it's the Angel and Beth Cabrera hotel or something. I don't know. That either way, something about wellness for Beth Cabrera, considering that's her. She's got some books about that she's written and has been pretty active about that on campus. So I'm really glad Val has her name attached to this as well because she did just as much as any. I mean, but Bud did a lot of obviously the fundraising side and the kind of the more what you do when you're a president. But Val was extremely involved as well. Maintain the president's house. Still, they've both stayed very involved after Bud's presidency ended because he was still involved with the mechanical engineering school. No, this is great. This is a lovely thing for them.
It's the first week on campus this week. Like we're talking about residence halls and the opening of that new residence hall. It is the first week of campus or
Hmm.
first week of classes
Yep.
next week, but the first week on campus for students this week is week of welcome. As I'm learning, it's now called since
Yep.
2022. It's the
Yep.
sixth year. It's the sixth iteration of week of welcome. Here are your schedules for this week. If you're not familiar with this, because I'm reading this for the first time, Rock, Ramble, and Roll on Monday. The Yellow Jacket Mega Mixer on also on Monday night. The Wellness and Resource Fair on Tuesday. King and Queen of the Court with the women's and men's club volleyball teams. Taste of Tech Square. Rec Fest on Wednesday. Esports Open House, which we've
Yeah.
talked about. The esports future esports arena on
Hmm.
campus at some point coming. That's on Wednesday. Paper and Clay Craft Day. The Grad Expo is on Thursday. Rats Night, RATS, for those, just to be clear. That's on Thursday night. A Magician's Workshop on Friday morning or Friday afternoon. A cardboard boat race at Macaulay
Yeah.
Aquatic Center on Friday afternoon. House party at Bobby Dodd, and then convocation on Sunday. I
Hmm.
think the house party usually is also tea night, but I don't see that listed here.
Tea Night's separately run by Rec Club, and that's not technically part of Week of Welcome,
Womp womp.
but it still happens.
Old man yells at cloud. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not upset. So I think that's about it. We've gone like an hour and a half. I think we've done all of the possible news that we could do
That's
in the
it.
Georgia in the
I'm
Georgia
at,
Tech athletics ecosystem.
we did it. We absolutely did it. You can read our stuff at FromTheRumbleSea.com. We've got some football preview stuff going up. and then we'll start covering games as that comes along as well. You can email us at fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com if you got a question or want to write for us or just have something we can cover. We're more than happy to take that. Our social media coverage Twitter and Blue Sky at FTRS blog. For both, we're on Facebook as well. I'm at Jack Nicholas on multiple platforms as well. Section 103 is at Section 103. You can find the non-FTRS advanced stats stuff that me and Akshay do at GameOnPaper.com. We just relaunched 2.0 version of the site, and it is awesome. And y'all should do it and donate to us on Ko-Fi so that we can pay for the servers. You can find this wherever you can find this podcast, wherever you find or download podcasts, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever it is. But with that, thanks for listening. We will be back with football stuff next week. Go Jackets.